Welcome back. Welcome in. It's Country Roads Confidential at earsports.com. It's a Paramount podcast. I'm Mike Casaza here on a Monday morning in Morgantown. Time to reach into the mailbag. Chris Anderson, I have a feeling people are going to be punchy today. Much better mood than the prior, I guess it would have been 7 weeks, 5 game losing streak and an open week. So, yeah, long time since people had a win to inquire about. So, this ought to be fun today, or more
Yeah.
fun at least. It's always fun. This ought to be more fun.
Well, let's just say it's at least a little bit more positive questions in there. Not how quickly will Rich Rodriguez be fired? How many players can we bench? Is this the worst this ever? Is this the worst that ever? This is a lot more of how many five-star recruits are going to commit tomorrow? And how great is this team going to be next year? Is this team going to get bowl eligibility and beat Texas Tech in a month?
Yeah, when will the Red Raiders tap out?
Yeah.
Second quarter or third? I love
Hey,
it. We need this.
we need positivity around here. I am all for it. So, you want to just dive right in?
I am all out of takes and thoughts and thinks and knows after the fun game on Saturday. And now, here's something funny, Chris. Three, what would it have been? After they got their doors blown off by UCF,
Hmm.
I was looking at future games and I ran my point spread generator, which is broken this year because this team has just kind of defied my projections a little bit. I think Colorado was a 13 and a half point favorite. West
Oh,
Virginia,
really?
yeah, plays close against TCU. Certainly progress, a lot of progress. Saturday beats Houston. Now I have West Virginia minus 4.5, and Vegas likes West Virginia even more.
Yeah, 5.5. At least that's what I had the other day.
Almost three scores, incredible. And that's just how much West Virginia has helped itself in the past couple weeks, and Colorado is just kind of winging it right now. It looks like, can they just get to the finish line with more answers than questions? Probably not. Can they cross out some of the questions? That seems to be what they're doing, especially now starting a true freshman quarterback who pretty good player it seems like, or will be one day. I'm not sure he will be Saturday, but we'll find out.
Oh boy. All right. Well, guess we will find out who, because I mean, there's what, 5 questions in here about the future of Scotty Fox. So maybe we'll find out now. Maybe Colorado will find out about the future of their quarterback position as well.
Yeah, what an
Uh,
impossible situation for us. I feel bad for Rich Rodriguez. Like, it's hard for us to answer questions about
yeah.
Scotty Fox. Now everybody's hanging this tenure on Rich Rodriguez and Scotty Fox, and that's not fun. But all right, let's fire away.
Um, all right. I'm going to skip over the most upvoted question just
Okay.
because we're already talking about this with the Scotty Fox stuff. Um, I think I remember this now because I always called him Cray Cool, but it's C Ray Cool. Is Scotty Fox the guy? Come on, Mike. And then Breakster 17. How good does Scotty Fox have to be the rest of the way for the staff to not be looking at a QB1 option in the portal?
All right. So number two is much easier to answer than number one. Just
Yes.
right now, I just can't tell you that Scotty Fox is the guy right now. Does he profile as that? He's got all the stuff that you want to have when you get to the end of the road this season, but not the wins and the stats and the moxie and the experience and the togetherness and the huddle and under pressure and all that. Like, we haven't seen him, try to come down from 10. Was it 10? Yeah, like Nico Marchio. We haven't seen him do something like that. Okay. And not that he has to, but there's a lot yet unknown about him. And I don't know how it'd be fair to crown him right now because it might be a situation where it's hard for him to succeed. And I don't know how it'd be hard to hold him off and say he can't be part of the future because he's got 3 more games left. I just don't know. I can't tell you. And I'm surprised people have a hard time buying that, right? He could be good, but remember, this is a guy who threw 2 passes to Pitt a couple of weeks ago. He's come a long way since then. He can go a long way still, but you just don't know, and especially with freshmen and what's going to happen when defenses get the better of him or get a better look at him or prep for him on film. Just who knows? We'll see. Like that Texas Tech game, I think is going to be maybe not an indictment or an acquittal or a conviction, but you're probably going to have a lot of answers, and they might not all be good. So be prepared for that. But just because he struggles against a top 10 team doesn't mean you get rid of him. All my way of saying, I just don't know. What does he have to do? That's really important because does he have to run more, run better, run more authoritatively? Does he have to command the run game? Would you prefer to see greater passing stats? Are quarterbacks a win stat? Excuse me, Chris. Are wins a quarterback stat? So he could go 3-0 the rest of the way, but he can complete 40% of his passes and throw more picks and touchdowns. Well, he won a bunch of games. That's your quarterback, but he didn't play very well. Conversely, he could be great, 10 to nothing touchdown interception ratio the next 3 games. Might go 0-3. So I don't know what the bar there is. I cannot give you an answer. I can't say he's the guy right now to answer the first question. Number two is really interesting. And that's like the pin the tail on the donkey right now. Where do you have to land? What's good? What's good enough? What's undetermined? TBD, need more information. I just still have a hard time thinking they're not going to try to do this with a quarterback from the portal. Somebody. Now, the difference then could be feel really good about Fox. We don't have to break the bank. Let's spread some of this money on receiver and offensive line instead of consolidating it to quarterback. That'd be a big thing for me. But what does it have to be? Stats, maybe. Wins, maybe not. Intangible, probably. It's just a combination. And I don't know. I have a hard time articulating it, obviously. Never mind answering it. Where do you land on this?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, I haven't changed my opinion about it a couple games ago. After TCU, I think this was the first time we were asked a similar type question about this. And I said, hey, this is the one position that's held to a higher standard than any other position on the field. And you essentially have to win games on your own for someone to say that guy's irreplaceable. That guy cannot be you can't get better in the portal and stuff like that. Is it unfair? Sure. That's what just comes with the position. Um, is he doing things the right way? Again, you look statistically, last game is not better than the game that he lost to TCU. And I'm not talking wins and losses here in this comparison, but in TCU is 300 yards passing, 2 TDs. This one was 157. We talked about it after the game. I was like, you only had 157 yards? How? Like, it felt like a lot more than that. And I think it's because of not intangibles, because it's very tangible. You saw it with your own eyes, but the biggest plays in that Houston game, he was very much involved in. He converted them. He made that 53-yard pass to Jeff Weimer. He made the 34-yard run for the touchdown on fourth down. He made another run for a touchdown early in the game to set the tone. It looked better. It looked like a guy that you can win with, a guy that can win games on his own. So that second game, that win over Houston, and not just because it was a win, I mean, that certainly helps, but it looked like a quarterback that you can win with in the future, and especially when you're thinking about him as a true freshman. But I'm still not to the point where it's, yeah, you're good. Put your money elsewhere. I mean, again, you're thinking here, if I was budgeting, is my budget shifting a little bit? My priorities of how this budget, say I have $1 million, and I know this is not what you have. You got more than that. You got different ways of doing this, but I'm trying to simplify it for this conversation. You had $1 million. If you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, prior to the TCU game, I would have said, all right, boys, we're spending $900,000 on a quarterback, and we can spend 100 grand wherever else you want to go. And that'll be that. With the way Scotty Fox has performed, now I'm like, hey, maybe we spend like 500 on an offensive line and a couple hundred on a quarterback that can compete with Scotty Fox. Maybe roll the dice on quote unquote damaged goods or to try to lure a smaller school quarterback up to see what they can do and have a competition. So he's trending in the right way to say, hey, you're good at quarterback, but I just don't think you'll ever get there. I don't want to say no matter what, but again, my stance hasn't changed. I'm not sure. I don't think yours, I'm not trying to speak for you. I don't think yours is either, but you and I have been saying this for years, years and years and years. You get a quarterback in the portal, period. End of story. West Virginia will get a quarterback in the portal. It's just a question now of how much are they spending to get.
Also, too, all the quarterbacks in the roster can come back, right?
How many will? Here, I
Yeah.
jumped in. I jumped the gun on the mailbag. I want my question, Mike. This is
Okay.
from CM Anderson 247.
Okay. I like this guy.
Over under 2.5 out of the 7 quarterbacks. I think we got 7.
Oh, I'll go one. I got one.
Markio, Henderson, Wilkins, Fox, Brown, Anderson, Keene.
Under. Can Keen come back? He can, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I have to double
I would
check.
go under. I forgot about that. Keen, Anderson, uh, boy.
So over under two
Seven's
and
a
a half.
lot in the 105 era, Chris.
Yeah.
That's a big number. Which means it's going to be hard for him to land somewhere too. Ooh, you might be on the over there. It might be 3. But and like the thing is then like if you're Khalil Wilkins right now and you're watching this happen, boy, it's tough. Like you were a starter in the Power 4. on the road. You probably still think you are a starter in the Power Four, or at least had that. And like, do you want to go to holding a clipboard again? Because you know it might be a long time till you get it again. Like, would he stay? And what's the price for that? Because he definitely has the ability to play in this offense. I think there's no question about that. But if you're Markio, Henderson, Brown, if you're Max Anderson, do you want to stick it out and try? I don't know. I think it'd be tough. The crazy thing now is Chris is like our Brad Jackson, Colton Joseph. Who was your guy from Boston College? Colandera. No, I was Colandera.
And now I'm forgetting. The guy he was started at Alabama, and then
Mhm.
Lonergan.
Yeah, okay. I don't know that you would aim for a Joseph Jackson type of guy right now, like the high price tag group of five. You don't know what you're going to get because at least you know what you're going to get with Fox. So now, do you go for the power five that you know? That does seem maybe unlikely, which is kind of we're talking about your expense account here. You're getting a little bit more freedom to be choosy with the quarterback and what you want to do. The thing we just don't know is that they have a guy that they've had their eyes on that they know is available. I'm not going to say tampering. No, no. But they just have a hunch that somebody they love is going to be available. Would you do that? Like if they had a guy who was starting for somewhere or who had started and had played a lot at an SEC school or something like that, and all of a sudden he's out there and he wants to come here and he's going to cost you seven. Would you do that? Don't know. And that maybe that's what's up in the air right now too. I think this is a great question. I think it's fun. It adds some spark to the season here that seemed like it was otherwise going to be pretty dull. And it's part of a rebuild. It just is. And you have to have this conversation. I just don't know if there's a right and a wrong right now, which is kind of weird because everybody's asking, what's wrong with your answer, Mike?
Yeah.
What is wrong with your way of thinking? I don't know. I can't say he's the guy right now because there's 3 games left. He could turn into a pumpkin. I mean, he threw 2 picks against BYU, I believe, too. We kind of forget about that. But he's been so good the last couple of games. If you look at the stats, though, up and down and up and down, just the last 3 games. And then I go back and I flip through the game on Saturday, and I thought he was much better than the stats. Like I'm guilty of looking at the stats and being like, "Oh, he was what was he 13 to 22?
Something like
That's not
that.
great." But then I'm like, "Well, he was 7.1 yards per attempt, which is pretty much what he was against TCU. If he threw it more, he'd probably have more yards, right? He threw 20 fewer passes on Saturday than he did the week before because he was managing the game and he was running it well and he was making probably really good decisions in the run game because the run game was working. That's all stuff that goes to a quarterback. So not really a stat business. And again, are wins a quarterback stat? You'd love it if your quarterback could lift you up and take you places, but sometimes the other side of the ball costs you. And that's certainly a high wire act that West Virginia is familiar with this year.
My damaged goods quarterback, Dylan Lonergan, thrust back into the starting role to play Notre Dame and then benched after 3 drives. So maybe, hey, find him on the ding and dent bin, a little discount
The
over
writing is
there.
on the wall there.
Yeah. Um, all right, next question. With this was the most upvoted question. I'm combining it with the another question that had some more upvotes because it's very much related. Lando, realistically, what are chances at landing Kevin Brown? I'm aware he had a visit to OSU and is still technically committed to Penn State, and they're likely to hire a big name coach. In Hunter 17, what are our chances at landing Kevin Brown and get a visit from Chris Henry Jr.? Um,
And
and yeah, uh, hey, that's not crazy thinking. I mean, obviously, with all the ties there, Chris Henry Jr. has been to West Virginia before. His father obviously played for Rich Rodriguez. I just don't see things changing with him in Ohio State. Like, it becomes a point when a school has so much success, not only at the collegiate level, but then pushing them into the NFL, that it's just going to be nearly impossible to sway the elite out of that position. And Ohio State's ability to produce wide receivers, put them in the NFL, and then have them succeed in the NFL, it's in your face it's in their face every Saturday. It's in your
oh yeah.
face every Sunday, every Monday, every Thursday. I don't see that changing. Like, I mean, again, that's nothing against West Virginia. I just think it's at a point where Ohio State can name their wide receiver class, period. And I don't think there's many schools that can say that about any other position. And I think Ohio State can do that at wide receiver. So I think it's going to be very difficult to sway anything with Chris Henry Jr. right now.
Would you say that Ohio State is like the title holder for position U? You know how like Penn
Yeah.
State linebacker U, West Virginia called itself wide receiver U for a little bit,
Hmm.
but I can't think of another one right now that is that clear and like that much of a lead over second place. I don't even know who the contender would be.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, it's insane. And yeah, I think this is of the school position U. This is the best of the best that I can remember
Oh,
ever. I mean,
can I guess my question then would be like, where does Brian Hartline go? That's a huge lure. It is. That's why I mean that guy recruits. He develops players like him, pros like
you know where he were
him. I'm aware.
interviewed?
Yeah, I'm aware. Remember that story? 11th hour there.
Yeah.
If he gets a job somewhere and there's going to be jobs open and he, why wouldn't you take a shot at a guy like that if you're a team that's trying to make it? I'm not sure he's going to get one of these high major jobs that's open right now, but why couldn't he get a healthy group of five job or good group of five job or healthy power five job? And also, if he goes on some staff somewhere, if he goes to the NFL, that could shake things up. Uh, can can he coach offensive line, Chris? I don't know. Maybe then you might get him here, something like that. I don't know. We'll see. But that's like the wild card there. But if he stays put, really hard to see Henry coming somewhere else. West Virginia is trying to get him here on a visit. See what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if he visited. Chris, what do you make of Kevin Brown, unofficial, official Ohio State?
I think that's bad news. I mean, it's bad news in the sense that that's two shots at the apple for Ohio State, essentially. Like, if it had just been an official visit to West Virginia followed by an official visit to Ohio State, which is what the original plan was, then it's kind of, an even game. It's 1v1, one visit versus one visit. Now Ohio State will probably get two visits, and that's going to make things a lot more difficult for West Virginia because obviously you're going to see a lot of very positive things at Ohio State as well. I mean, he was glowing about his trip to West Virginia. He was glowing about his trip to Ohio State. Um, so much of this though is going to center around the offensive line coach. And we've talked about how West Virginia's position has struggled. All those position coaches are on 1 year deals. I'm not aware of what Ohio State's contract situation is with their offensive line coach, but probably a little more stable than West Virginia's at the moment. He's very tied into Penn State's offensive line coach,
Mhm.
who is currently still there, but the expectation is that he probably won't be once a new head coach is hired because new head coaches tend to want to bring in their own guys. We'll see. I mean, I know that's a major factor. That is the biggest factor, I believe, in what Kevin Brown is going to decide for his future is his relationship with his offensive line coach. We'll see. It's a hard read, because again, he's doing the right things. He's making his visits. He's talking about them, and but he's just very positive about everything. So it's hard to get a read that, oh, look what he said about this place. That doesn't sound as good as the other place. No, he's openly talking about all of them and being very positive.
Ohio State, six offensive linemen in the recruiting class. Four, I think, are definite offensive tackles, at least by our definition.
Hmm.
Can swing inside, but and two of them are top 100 players. It gets to be a little bit crowded. Now,
Yeah.
granted, you got to play two tackles and five offensive linemen, so there's more room to get on the field there for sure. Chris, here's a little 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon for you.
Okay.
Ohio State's offensive line coach,
Tyler
Ty-
Bowen.
Tyler Bowen. You know where he was last year?
I see. I
Virginia
didn't
Tech.
know. Yeah.
If he doesn't leave Virginia Tech, perhaps Matt Moore doesn't leave West Virginia, and then who knows how many players stay on the West Virginia line. I think Matt Moore was probably on his way out of town one way or the other. Just don't think he was going to be part of the transition, and then he took care of that bridge with his farewell tweet. But it is kind of funny how these things work out. Bowen, I think people think that because of his offensive coordinator background, he's going somewhere as a coach. You go into Ohio State. You're accelerating your development because you're in a high profile position and now you're recruiting pretty well too. If you can land a guy like Kevin Brown in the 11th hour here, that's a really big deal for West Virginia. I don't again not going to say the money here because we've said it and no one else has said it, but like West Virginia is not getting that kid to come to campus unless it knows the money
Hmm.
and has discussed the money. Like that's why cell phones exist. You're not having that conversation face to face. You're not. You're having that over the phone. You're having that over Zoom. Perhaps that's face to face, but you're not having it in person. How's that? So if he was making X dollars as a promise to go to Penn State over 2 years, let's say, he knows that's the minimum here. or it's going to be pretty darn close. And I don't think West Virginia is wasting their time or his time to do that. This isn't like, oh, let's keep the fans on the board and on Twitter happy by entertaining this no doubt about it offensive lineman. So I think that's a really good sign. And I said this before too. I don't think that you worry about the money when you're going nose to nose with Ohio State because Ohio State, one, has more money, can outbid you by a dollar, can outbid you by more than a dollar. And it just has different advantages. And if you're a player going in, you know that too. I don't think you're sitting down at the last minute to make a decision and being like, well, I'm going to go to Ohio State because they offer me a little bit more money. You're probably choosing different aspects of your future as a college football player to go to Ohio State. Now, that sounds like it's a bad deal for West Virginia. Not necessarily, because you could easily talk a kid into something at West Virginia that's a positive. You're not one of the six offensive linemen. You're not one of three top 100 players. You're the guy here. You can be part of something different. This team banks Big 12 titles and playoff appearances. How cool would it be to be part of a group that gets us there for the first time or twice in 3 years, right? It's not over for West Virginia. It's just a different language you have to speak there. And the fact that they're at this position right now, that's a good sign.
Yeah. I say I don't know if the question really wanted me to put a percentage on it, but I would say, 25%, which is like you're going to hear 25% and go, oh, that means 75% no. 25% yes against a top 100 recruit that's already committed to Penn State and is considering Ohio State. That's pretty darn good. That's a
Mhm.
that's a spot that West Virginia is not normally in. So I think West Virginia has a legitimate chance. 25% is a legitimate chance. If again, whatever my grading scale is here, it's a little tougher. Like if a guy was West Virginia had no chance at, I'm not going to tell you 25%. I'd say there's no chance, or I'd say there's 5% chance. 25% chance is a real chance on my grading scale. So
The headline today is that he has Ohio State in his top two. Who are the two, Chris? I've read the story. I can't tell you.
oh God.
Could be West Virginia, could be Penn State too. So, but considering an official visit too. So that's not done yet, but he could make that. And
Yeah.
that would be their last two at home are UCLA and Rutgers. Oh, another West Virginia connection. The Rutgers AD, maybe she can put a poison pill as a visitor in Columbus that day. You should go to West Virginia. Things are good there. We'll see.
Next question, Ear Traveler. With the increasing amount of high-level recruits becoming immediately available due to the coaching chaos, how serious are the donor level levers that WVU can pull? I guess like is this going to shift here? I guess let me rephrase it. I don't know if this is what he's asking here, but that's how I'm interpreting it. Because of all the chaos and the available talent, do you think West Virginia's donors were more likely to spend money now than they would have been before, or more likely to front load deals than they were before? Like,
They were front loading before. And again, that's one reason they saved that money from the revenue sharing.
yeah,
So they had that $5 million to basically to retain some players, but to front load deals. And that was like a sneaky advantage before that's becoming more and more common now. So instead of, for example, a 15, 70, 15 model, 15% now, 70%, after the season, 15% after the summer, something like that. You've seen schools go, like 40, 40, 20, something like that, where it's a little bit different. You're giving more money up front because that's how you get people to sign. That's not rare anymore. They can still do that, and it's important because now you can at least combat those schools. You'll have an edge over the schools that don't do that, and you'll be able to combat the schools that do. So you'd rather have it than not. Get caught with it than caught without it. I don't know what people think about the quantity of donors that can move the needle like this at West Virginia. It's not a big number. Um, if they are more likely now, it's probably because they won a game and there has been some stimulating conversation, let's say, about the donor dynamics at West Virginia in the past couple of weeks. And perhaps some people lean forward and say, enough's enough. Let's be serious about this. I want to do my part. There's just not a lot of those people. Like, I don't know what number people think it is, but it's not 10. So is it 8? I don't even know if it's 8, right? Like that
uh,
type of needle mover. Now, can you generate people? Can you get them to come out of the woodwork? Can you be your Pied Piper right now? Maybe just enough happens so you can get people to do that. I just think the answer to the question is yes. The conditions make it more likely that people will take it seriously. I just don't know how many people there are to do that. So it's a good idea and it's a good opportunity. just the audience you're working with, you're at the mercy of. So it's kind of a hard thing to do. And then also, I honestly don't know how many donors know the commitment list at Florida, at Auburn, at Virginia Tech, so on and so forth, and the relevance to WVU. Just maybe you can talk to them about it, but did they know that? Like when Hugh Freeze got fired on Sunday, did some donor sitting on millions perk up and go, man, I forgot that right guard is awesome that they get committed to Auburn. We should go get him. I don't think that happens. So you got to reach out. You got to do your job. You got to figure out who's a poachable player, who's somebody you can go get, and then you go to a donor or to the MAC and say, this is the talking point we need. You kind of have to organize an attack if you're going to do something like that. I just don't think you can depend on the people you need to help to do it all by themselves.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm thinking again, like, hey, we're at this point, and I'm not saying it's uncomfortable to talk about it, but we're talking about these players, these recruits and players and transfers as assets, as investments. If you're really talking about, if we're going to keep talking about big donor money, we're going to talk about these players as assets and investments because that's how these big donor people are looking at them. Again, that's why these people have the money in the first place because they look at everything as assets and investments. Um, if you are coming to me and saying, Chris, I need $1 million for a quarterback or for whatever position, I'm going to tell you, you can have my $1 million if you spend it on a more known commodity, not a high school recruit. Like again, I don't think I know that not a lot, there is a disproportionate amount of money spent on transfers as opposed to recruits. Like people seem to think that just because they hear a couple stories of like a 5-star quarterback getting $1 million, that all these high school kids are getting a bunch of money. They're not. Like the high school kids are not getting the money unless you are one of the top of the top of the top of the top, a Kevin Brown type, if you will, to tie it back into the previous question. But I just don't see, to your point, like donors being like, yeah, man, that high 3-star offensive lineman that committed to Auburn or whatever, that's going to be the difference maker. He might be really good 2 years from now, 3 years from now. As someone who's putting that money, do you want to tie your money up for 3 years on a 25 to 30% chance that a guy ends up being a contributor for a football team 3 years down the road? Probably not. So I think most of this money, I think some of this chaos, it might help more with the transfers. It might cause some donors to put in a few more bucks, but it's just, I just don't see it changing swiftly because of the uncertainties involved. And also, you have to win first. I think the winning, I mean, hey, what comes first, chicken or the egg? Yeah, you spend the money, you win. Well, if you win, more money comes in. If West Virginia can finish the season with a 5-7 or 6-6 record by some miracle, that's going to affect the donor levers, I believe is how it was phrased, more so than the coaching chaos that's going on right now.
Have you seen like the quarterback rankings in the transfer portal from last year?
No. Let
And
me
like
pull it
just
up.
like for like here are the top quarterbacks that we have, and just tell me like if they're worth the expense.
Okay.
Nico Ayamalava,
I mean, he got paid a ton, and he's starting at UCLA, but they suck. So
Carson
unofficially,
Beck,
yeah. Um, he's blown 2 games, right? Or was terrible in 2 games at least, two most important games. And
John
so,
Mateer,
nope.
Fernando Mendoza, and I'm not sure how expensive he was, but um, and then JKS at Cal, I don't think he was very expensive. Luke Krabanoik went from Florida State to Mississippi State.
Has he played much?
I don't
I
even-
haven't followed Mississippi State much except for nope, 20 yards passing on the season.
Yeah, Darian Mensah was like a 7-figure player to go from Tulane to Duke, allegedly. He's been okay. Probably worth it for Duke football. Probably worth it, right? Big
Hmm.
win. Malik Murphy went to from Duke to Oregon State. You saw Connor Wegman, Mark Gronkowski, Miller Moss, Bo Prabula,
Ooh,
Jackson Arnold, Walker
nope.
White, Air Noland, Caden Salter. Like You get where I'm going here?
Yeah.
I just wonder how much you're throwing at the quarterback now. And is it turning a little bit now? Maybe you got to have a guy for a couple years. Like it's great to have the free agent acquisition to be a quarterback, but like you're not finding Aaron Rodgers all the time. Like you're gonna have to get somebody who comes in. Like if it's so hard for an offensive lineman to come in and learn the system, or so hard for a middle linebacker to come in and learn the system, I would think at a quarterback, unless there's an experience in the system or with a coordinator or a head coach, gonna be tricky too. And you've just seen like just relative to the dollar, that's not like a note for note. Is it worth it comparison? But just overall, how many of those quarterbacks that I named are well probably were upgrades, but did they get you as far as you thought they were going to? We had a lot of no's and not many yeses there.
Related, how much influence does a donor have on who plays from Swag Year?
It depends the sport, but in football, zero.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that he's going to have that. I don't. You might want to know what's going on. Here's X $100,000. I'd like to be in the loop on what offensive lineman you're getting or what cornerbacks you're getting. You might have a tip. Hey, I know a guy that says this, but I also think that these donors are just like, here's my money, but like you're probably better off spending it than me. I'm sure that there's some interest, and maybe you might say interference, but there might be conditions attached to it. Like it's a nice donation I gave you. Be a pity if something happened to it,
Well,
right?
but I think was the question. Sorry, I just read it and I almost forgot. It was like on who's gonna play, not who they're gonna get, but who's gonna play like on game day.
I mean,
Not right.
retroactively, probably. I would say after the season. Like I gave you a bunch of money for this quarterback. He never played this year. Or I
Yeah.
gave a bunch of money for this running back. I thought was gonna be good. Never played this year. That might be the thing. But like on a day to day, I don't think that happens.
Right. I don't either. I mean, it's an interesting question because I did my ears perked up when, Pat McAfee said on national television, I think a lot of the guys I paid for are already out the door. And it's like, dude, if I had given hundreds of thousands or millions and the guys that money was supposed to be spent on are already gone, whew.
So you're
Now,
thinking that I was thinking about that. Nico,
I was wondering,
Marquio.
I don't know, because he almost sounded like he was implying that he gave the money in December and those guys were gone before when, after spring football. Like some of those guys that left after spring, but who's I mean, certainly dudes left, but who's getting the big money that left after spring? I don't recall off the top of my head sitting here with podcasting with you that there was somebody like that.
Yeah, I don't think McAfee was shelling out for Oren Singleton,
Right.
Devontae Golden Nelson. No, but guys who they couldn't retain, maybe, or guys who walked, maybe offensive linemen or something like that, possibly. Actually, they didn't have offensive linemen who left. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe we threw down for Will Reed. That didn't work out. Yeah. Follow up question time. Why didn't Chris Fowler ask a follow up question?
Yeah, I don't know.
Reese Davis, I guess, not Chris Fowler.
Well, it's time to blame the media.
Yeah.
That's what we like to
Ask
do.
the hard questions.
Yeah, soft. L. Schaefer. Speaking of soft, soft edge. Is Mike
Uh,
shaving his beard the reason why we're hopefully getting out of mediocrity? The dates line up. Mike, it looks to me like you have stopped shaving already. I could see a little stubble growing in there. Are you going to be the one that ruins West Virginia's good fortunes by growing your beard back?
should we leave it to a poll?
Leave it to a poll. I can't believe it. What is this? I feel like I'm in Bull Durham. Like you don't mess with a streak. I don't know if one game counts as a streak, but
So, does that mean I don't shave because it's November?
oh yeah.
I don't know. We need a ruling on this. Somebody who's listening can fill me in on what to do with my facial hair next, 'cause it's very important.
Um, let's see. With the insanity of the college football coaching carousel, how do you think this might help WVU? How might it hurt from Croton here? Little column A, little column B. I mean, I mean, I can guarantee you out of the guys that are currently committed to the class, I would say the vast majority of them are going to stick. You're going to lose a couple because of new coaching hires, guys that they have connections with that end up at different schools. We've seen it before. You could see it again. Like, say, let's pick a school. I mean, most recent Auburn. Say that somebody that was at a smaller school gets hired at Auburn, and one of West Virginia's players had a connection with that coach, but looked at that school and was like, "Nah, I'd rather go play at West Virginia than that school." Well, now that coach is at Auburn, and that coach reaches out and says, "We want you to play in the SEC." Now that kid has something to think about. That's going to happen. That will happen. That will happen this cycle. It happens every cycle. So it will happen this cycle, but it's also going to happen the other way where West Virginia is going to reach out to guys like Kevin Brown and other recruits that are, wandering eyes now that they don't have a coach at their current school and trying to figure things out. And it's going to continue because once the new head coaches get hired, then the new head coaches have to go get new position coaches, which means position coaches are going to change jobs. And those position coaches are the guys that have the best relationships or the strongest relationships with recruits. So, to channel my inner Samuel L. Jackson, or at least the early days, not the F bomb days,
Oh.
hold on to your butts from Jurassic Park. So,
Yep. I would think another side effect too is that when you have everybody but one coach on a 1 year contract and you go to renegotiate, you're probably going to comp the market a little bit. And if 240 coaches are getting new contracts right now, that's going to mix things up a little bit. So that might be
yeah.
a small market adjustment there too. Um, they might lose coaches to other schools. They might get into a bidding war to keep a coach. Not fair, but let's just say Larry Porter, very popular coach, a lot of connections, would be coveted. Um, if some school was like, we'd like to hire you, and Rich was like, I want to keep him, well, all of a sudden Larry Porter's gonna make some money. So one way or the other, he's gonna make some money. So that might dip into their, but that's like nominal stuff. That's the cost of doing business. I wouldn't think it disrupts your offseason plans. You might lose a guy and you have to replace him. You might find an upgrade out there too. That's just in the assistant coaching market too. And then just naturally, like if and when you do renegotiate with Rich Rodriguez, you're probably looking at like 20 new head coaches this year, a lot of them in the Power Five. That's going to change the average annual value for head coaches. And they'd like to keep an eye on that stuff, especially when it comes to peer institutions or schools in your conference. I think you'll probably see some changes in the Big 12 at the end of the season, too. So nothing crazy, nothing that's detrimental to West Virginia's bottom line. Just inevitable stuff that's probably on the way, no matter what you want or what you think.
Next question. Will Honor Huff break Frank Young's single season 3-point record of 117?
It's a great one.
You want me to put the numbers out there, or do you have them in front of you for Huff's previous seasons?
I would be down about 15 from the year before, right?
Yeah, so in 2023, 2024, he made 109, so he's close. 2024, 2025 was 131. One big
Which
catch here. They played 38 games last year. So your per game rate is a little strong.
hmm.
Like I think, would that work out? What's the per game rate? Let me do a little math here real quick.
Well, Frank would have played about 38 that year too, though.
Yeah, but the question is, will West Virginia play 38 games this year?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Because yeah, I mean, I get that it's probably going to be on the same rate, but so 38 times 3.44 or 30, what, 32? Let's say 32, 33 times 3.44, 113. So he was on pace if he played the
Mhm.
full regular season, a Big 12 conference game, and one NIT game, and West Virginia lost. That's 33 games. Is that right?
Yes,
He would be on last year's pace of shooting 42% from three would put him at 114, just below.
that's hard, man.
That's hard. I mean, I forgot. I mean, I know obviously during that era, one, again, they played 38 games. That's going to help because that was the season, right? That was from the season that they won the NIT. Is that right? That he set the
36
record.
that year, yeah.
So he's obviously playing more games than normal, and that team shot a ton of threes,
hmm
and he hit a very high clip. So I'm going to say no. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility, but that's just such a high number, and such a high clip. Because again, was it almost 80% of Huff's shot attempts last year were three pointers? Like 315 out of 403 shot attempts were threes. So he is jacking it up from three almost exclusively, hit at a ridiculous rate, and played 5 or 6 more games than West Virginia will play this season to beat the record. So I'm going to say no.
There was a stretch from when Pittsnogle started in the middle of his, I guess it was his junior year. Like
Hmm.
he only started like maybe 16, 17 games that year. And then his first like 20 something games, he made like 133s. And he was prolific. And that's like a darn near 7 footer who could just shoot over you. But like what's interesting there is you knew what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Like he was not backing you down. He was not cutting. He just like he had similar to Huff. I understand they're very different, but like Huff is not going to drive into the paint a whole lot. He's not going to work free for elbow jumpers. He's going to get his 3-point shot. So part of me says, no, they're going to figure him out. Big East defense was legit back then. I think it might have been easier for Pittsnoggle to shake free from like DeJuan Blair than it would be for Huff to get rid of some of these guards. But there's certainly a precedent of a guy who has one trick that are better than all his other tricks. Let's not call him a one trick pony and still getting it off. And Huff did that last year. Like for him to make 130 last year after being so good the year before in that conference, that's crazy. It'd be an interesting competition. I just think the odds are no. And I wonder if he can shoot that percentage this year under duress. He may get the attempts, but I wonder if he can shoot that percentage with better defenders, better athletes, more length coming at him, and probably some really good coaching game plans too.
Yeah. Um, Timber Pimp, how much of the run game improvement was O-line personnel related versus the backs and Scotty making the right reads? Um,
Oh, I would throw tight ends in there too.
yeah, I was gonna say I felt like a lot of times when they were getting around on the edge, there was space, there was time to read and and find the right running lane to go in when they ran those stretch plays out wide because people were holding the edge. That's offensive. That's offensive tackles. That's pulling offensive linemen getting out there. But that's also tight ends and receivers actually holding their blocks. Mike, I was shocked. Did you see the stat about the yards after contact again?
Still big.
Still big. Theo Hubbard, especially 91 of his 108 yards came after contact, which means 29 attempts, only 17 yards without contact. So about a half a, less than a yard downfield before he's reaching first contact. That's surprising to me. I felt like he had more time and more space than that. So, not saying I disagree entirely with everything that PFF does, but that shocked me because I did feel like they had some space.
They were not happy with perimeter blocking last game. I think that's one reason you saw some of Gerard Bowie because that guy's kind of feisty against TCU.
Yeah,
But Gallagher was better for sure against Houston. Did you notice that Cam Vaughn did not start?
I did not notice that.
No, Weimer, who big guy, and I think people would probably tell you that Justin Smith Brown will try to block and do some things, and he's a strong guy too. Those guys started and like they ran the ball well in that first drive. Um, Barnes was fine. I don't think he's going to make his money as a blocker, but he did get himself into the mix sometimes. But they play a lot of Barrick and Ward together too. I think that was an emphasis on them. Like we got to be better on the perimeter because they've got to get out of danger in the middle. They just have to. They can't run between the tackles or between the guards consistently.
Yeah.
So I think the perimeter stuff was good. Like they stretched some things out. They were really good on that, like that sweep quarterback counter kind of a play. There's a whole bunch going on in the backfield. Those linebackers had their eyes everywhere. And when you create creases to the right and the eyes to the left, football's easier. Run the ball is easier. So that was good. And then I thought they had really good perimeter blocking games from especially their tight ends. And um, the quarterback made some plays and he ran the ball too. Also, props to Clay Ash. I don't know what'll happen to him, but like comes in cold off the bench, breaks his first tackle of the year on a running play on a 10-yard run that keeps that drive alive. I think it was a
Yeah.
third down play. Maybe they
Yep.
go for it on fourth anyways, but he had 52 touches and one broken tackle before that. That was his first broken tackle on a running play. And that's not to poke fun, but like he helped himself there too. I would give some credit to the backs because the reason that you just mentioned too still had to deal with a lot of junk in the backfield, a lot of junk in their windshield, and they made it work. So good for them. They ran hard. They made people miss, especially. Those guys maybe aren't break tackle guys, but they can make you miss a little bit and forcing missed tackles one way or the other. You're gonna have to do it when you're playing with those conditions in your face.
All right, last question, Mike. Um, Pretty general question, wide ranging here. JAL 1234. Was what we saw Saturday real or was it Memorex? JAL, you're old, man. I mean, so are we, because I think Mike and I got that reference,
Yeah.
but that's old.
Um, it's going in that direction, right? How about this? You should have an answer on Saturday. Like I think if Houston was step two and TCU was step one, and maybe getting your brains beat in against UCF was step one because they played harder. They've made changes since then. They've really focused on what helps them. I would say on defense, especially. Like they're not great on defense, but they're gonna play their game. It looks like now. Just two very different ways, but it helped them win. Like they didn't go after Hoover a bunch because he's going to get rid of it fast, and they were aggressive against Houston because you can get some, you can cause some havoc there, which they did. I just think that like maybe that was step one. Like if you're going to sleepwalk through a game, play in a way that's not going to let you do it, especially defensively. And then step two is TCU. Step three is Houston. You get a big win on the road against a ranked team. If they regress, then yeah, probably feeling like it isn't for real. But if they beat a team that they probably should beat at home, you've got the signs of something real for sure. Trouble is, like, you're playing two pretty good teams after that, that backload in the schedule, who I think are both off the week before you play them. One team really needs, actually, both teams really need the break, I'm sure. So it might not be a expansive answer, but we're just talking about 1 week. So I would say that you'll know for sure, but you gotta like being able to ask the question right now. And you probably really like the way you're leaning with the answer, which is, yeah, this feels like they're up to something. It may not go all the way to the finish line, but they're moving in that direction.
Um, yeah, I mean, what we saw on offense from West Virginia is what I expected to see from West Virginia for the majority of the season. Like, because was it perfect? No. I mean, they scored 38 points on offense. Again, one of the touchdowns was a pick six. So only 38, only quote unquote, 38 points on offense. But there was like an entire quarter where it was a dud on offense, which is going to happen. Like, I mean, that's just part of the sport. The other team is out there, trying to execute as well. But this was what I expected from the offense throughout most of the season. And so if you're asking me if it's real, I think it can be real to your point, like it's getting better. But we also still have what, 8 other games that say otherwise, that say it's not real, that the offense is struggling. Um, the defense is what it is. I mean, I think it's just one of those defenses, and it's been the same way all season long. There's been different results because this is a high variance defense. Like they run so much stuff, and that is not just something like Willie Fritz brought this up about how many different things West Virginia runs. Rich Rodriguez has made some comments about it, almost like he doesn't like the fact that they run so much stuff, that he'd like some of it to be simplified. But it is a very high variance defense that sometimes it's going to hold an opponent to, 10 points. Sometimes they're going to give up 45. Sometimes they're going to give up 45 and create 4 turnovers. That's just the way this defense is. So I think the defense and what they did out there, very real, good and bad. Offense, trending the right way, can be real, but I'm not ready to say it is fully yet. But like you said, doing what you're supposed to do against the team you're supposed to beat this week at home, that might make me think it's a little more real. Because that would be what, 2.5 games, 2 games in a row for the offense at least.
All right, so the is it real or is it Memorex? Because Joe makes it's a pretty funny thing. I think that was like
That
God
was
early.
bef- that was before me. Yeah, I wasn't even born yet. So
Ella Fitzgerald, I think, was in the commercial.
yeah,
Um, Basically, is it live music or is it a cassette recording?
yeah.
Is this the real thing or is it some imitation of the real thing? And that's the question. So that's the frame of this. Did you see something that's real or is this just like it's something that's a fabrication? It's not real, but it's convincing. And that's where we're at right now. So we should leave it at that. I think it's a high note to go off on.
Yeah. Rest of the questions we already got 2 lined up for the 3-minute videos. One Tuesday morning, one Friday morning. We got Ross Hodge later this afternoon for interviews. First basketball game Tuesday night. Rich Rodriguez Tuesday afternoon. Another basketball game later this week.
Thursday.
It's going to be busy, 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 busy times. Yeah, there's Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, right?
Man. Yeah.
So busy, busy times over on the site. Be sure to check it all out. These questions, again, we'll have 2 3-minute videos with 2 of them, and then the rest I'll answer a written form going up Wednesday morning. So
Plenty coming up. Got three things I think, three things I know. Got some text from game day coming. Tomorrow we'll have questions I need answers. Fewer questions now, Chris.
huh.
They've answered all the questions. That's good. A lot coming on. Basketball, 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 football, soccer, soccer. Everything's going crazy right now. Check us out online. See what you like what you see. Until next time, I'm Mike Casazza.
And I'm Chris Anderson.
We'll talk to you then.